y'all, it's Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. Y'all are getting a twofer from me today. 2 videos on my channel, and honestly, it's actually a threefer because if you go over to the graphics arts channel, I'll have the link below in the description box. I have a tutorial over there on how to make some washi tape using their double tack mounting tape. Once I had made that washi tape, I really wanted to play with it. So I took one of the graphics mixed media journals. That's what you see here. It comes with 2 chipboard pieces that are the front and the back, and then several pieces of Duralar inside. I think there's 2 different thicknesses of clear. One of those is the wet media. There's a matte one, a black opaque one, and a white opaque one. You can definitely head over to the graphicsarts.com site and get more information about those. But like I said, I wanted to play with those washi tapes I had made. That video is live now on the Graphics Arts channel. I'll have that link, like I said, below. So many links for your enjoyment. But I'm going to do a cover and a page in this. So I'm starting with the cover. The covers of these mixed media journals are chipboard, natural chipboard. So I started with that one of those and put a bit of gesso down just to give myself a base so that anything else I add to it isn't going to soak right into the chipboard. So while that white gesso is off to the side drying, I have this resin piece. It is some white quick cure resin in a Finnebear mold that I have. So I'm going to start altering it by adding some black gesso. I'm actually going to put like 3 layers of black gesso on it, but I'm just going to let y'all see this first one because I think you get how you add. I'm just painting it. That's all I'm doing. And that just puts down a nice layer. So anything I put on top will pop a little bit more. A white gesso would be fine too, depending on what your top layers are going to be. I seem to really like putting down the black gesso on that white resin. I don't know why. It's just my jam. Yeah, I was getting real fiddly with this. I'm sorry that I kept so much of this in here. It's really not anything intense. From there, I've got some black paint that I am going to just take and make some marks on the front of this journal just to get me started, to kick me off, to have some interest in the background before I get to the collaging. I'm going to get really weird about this in a minute because I'm not going to like how the bottom of these shapes look. Yeah, I didn't like that they were like points on it. This is not going to matter at the end of this in any way, shape, or form. But at the moment, I was like, why are they pointy? I don't want them to be pointy. So I fixed it. Once I got that done and let it dry for just a minute, I'm coming back in with several sprays. This is some kind of Tattered Angels sprays. I've got a couple of, I think that's 1 Distress Spray Stain, and then it looks like 3 Distress Oxides in there. I'm hesitating, trying to figure out which one I'm going to use. Oops, I didn't use that one. That was the something linen, white linen. No, that's not right. I don't know what it is. I didn't use it. And then the brown, and then this is Cracked Pistachio. I know this one. And you can see I'm just getting those down on this cover. Like I said, I prepped it with gesso. That kind of helps me know that those colors are going to show up a little bit more. But y'all, I'm going to, well, you'll see what I'm going to do. I do add a little bit of water to this just to kind of help those integrate and move around a little bit. And then I took a good deal of time to dry all of that wet. Then I've got the Black Soot Distress Spray Stain and put that right there on top and add a little water to that. And that just, yeah, puts black all over this. But I felt like it helped integrate those black marks on there so that those were kind of just emerging from behind, from the background, so that they weren't so blocky. So I sprayed a little bit of water on that, let it move around, and then I'm going to dry it also before coming in with some collage. I am going to use Fluid Matte Medium. to stick my collage pieces down. And I do start by inking this one. I don't know what I was thinking. Because once I use that fluid medium, it is going to mix with those distress stains back there, the oxide and the spray stain, and the fluid medium is going to get like darkened, and we're going to hit a snag here in just a minute. But I'm going to start with this piece, and yeah, almost immediately you can see some of that. Oh, and I didn't put enough down. And you'll notice I put down my fluid medium there on the left side of my yeah, left side of me. But you see how that piece of paper got darkened up immediately? That's the nature of the distress products. They tend to move around a little bit. And, you know, that works for this because I really wanted something kind of grungy, and it's fine. It helps those papers that I'm putting down integrate just a little bit more. And I'm just using scraps that are, I'm inking that one too. I don't know what I was thinking. I stopped doing that here in just a minute, partly because I get flustered about what's going to happen here in just a minute. You'll see. See, and I'm getting real persnickety about this. I don't know why. It does look kind of neat. You can see on that first piece of paper I put down does seem to have like an outline around it, but yeah. So no, I'm gonna speed this up here in just a minute, but I want you to see my boo-boo first. But yeah, you can see as I put that down, I'm getting inkiness on my little silicone spreader thing that I use. Yeah, I'm gonna bring in some other things like a key card type thing to scrape things down, and I'm gonna grab another piece and tear it down. And this is where I start to not ink things. And you can see what I'm doing here is tearing off some of the sharp edges because I wanted to put that kind of toward the middle. I'm moving things around here. I'm like, oh, this will be nice right here. And then I reach to the top of me and oh no, what have I done? Y'all, that's my white gesso. I, yeah, did not realize it at first. Put white gesso right down instead of the fluid medium. I just let myself keep going. It did give some kind of interest in the background, but I was like, at first I didn't realize it because, of course, when I put the fluid medium down, it's also white. When I put it down, I thought, that's awful dark. Did I put too much? No, y'all, that was white gesso. Oh no, it's okay. I'm gonna fix that here. And those distress oxides have that bit of like milkiness to them. The pigment that's in them does have that like milkiness, so it kind of works because I've got those spray stains in the background, and they end up getting some of that kind of feel to it as well. So I'm going to stick one or two little pieces down to finish this off. I didn't want to cover all of it, obviously, because I put so much into the background. And this really was more about playing with those washi tapes that I made. And I'll eventually get to it, I promise. But I wanted a good base, and I really wanted to play on this piece of chipboard. And I was having a lot of fun making a grungy mess here. But yeah, so there's my gesso there that I brought back in. I kept some of the murky fluid medium on my palette there, on my little scraper tool, so that it's all going to like blend together just a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of gesso, a little bit of fluid medium, and that's what medium's for anyway, is to mix with other things. So once that was good and dry, I'm coming back in with a little bit of golden fluid acrylic and quinacridone nickel azo gold. Now this is not a color you can get anymore. But they do make an azo gold, which I think is probably very comparable to the nickel azo gold. And I put a little bit down, and my brush still had black paint on it, so you can see that little bit up at the top got real icky. Again, this is supposed to be grungy. I just let it fly. It was fine. I am super precious with this paint because I do love it so much. So you can see I'm just using like little bits and dabs of it, and that's all most of the time when I use it, that's all I feel like is needed. I know many people are going to use it a little more liberally. And I am splattering it, as you can see, around on my cover also. So, yes, this is a long video. Like I said, it's really several projects because not only am I doing this cover and a page, I'm making a tag to go on the page. So you're getting like 3 projects in one, in addition to 3 videos from me. So I do have another video that went up earlier today of me using some stamps and stencils that you can go check that out. But I'm gonna show you the washi tape in a little bit, and that was kind of the purpose of this video. Now I wanted to brighten this up just a scoosh, and I love me some crackle paste. So I've got the Deco Art crackle paste and several stencils. I couldn't quite find a single stencil I wanted for this whole thing. So I was like, you know what? This is already got so much going on. Let's just add to that. Let's just use several stencils. So I've got that one big stencil I use, and then I'm bringing in several Tim Holtz stencils that I think are really fun, and a simple plastic palette knife to just scrape that crackle paste through, doing everything I can not to mess up some of the other little bits. I am going to walk away from this and allow the crackle paste to dry, because crackle paste does best when you let it air dry. You can heat dry it, but the cracks just aren't as awesome. So I am going to walk away and let it do its thing. Also know that when you use crackle paste, the thicker you put it on, the larger the cracks you'll have, and the thinner, the smaller the cracks. So I think this is my last stencil I'm going to put on here before I step away and let it do its crackly thing. Now, while this is a white crackle paste, I decided to come back once it was crackled and ink up. So I'm inking up all the edges of my journal cover with Distress ink in Walnut stain, and then I'm lightly going over the crackled areas just so that it's not like so pure white, and that helps get in some of those crackles a little bit so they show up a bit more. So that brings us to where I am going to use my washi tape. So on the cover, I made 3 different washi tapes in my process on the graphic site, and one of them is a fabric tape. So it's not a true washi because it's not paper, but it's really neat to get even there. I can tear it. Oh, I loved that. I loved it. I could tear it and get a little bit of fraying on the edges of it. So I'm going to put it behind that resin piece that I gessoed earlier. I'm kind of just trying to figure out where I want it. And then I am going to put the word create on the cover of this mixed media journal, because that's what I hope happens in it. I hope I get creative in it and have a good time. So I am using a mix of different alphabet stamps and some stays on ink. Y'all, you can see over there on the left, that's like a fishing tackle box, and I've got tons of different alphabet sets, and it drove me crazy to try to get letters out of those boxes and get them back in and all that. So I just organized 2 of those tackle boxes by letter. So I just dig through those and find which font I want and that kind of thing. And I tend to like a crazy mixed up font, so it works perfectly that way. So I stamped out the word create in the middle of my fabric washi tape there, and I'm making sure that the resin piece fits over it nicely. And I'm thinking, because I'm like, okay, once I stick this down, because it is that double tack mounting tape, it's not going to come up. So I gave myself a minute to make sure that's what I wanted and stuck it down. And then from there, I'm going to work on altering that resin piece. I'm going to start by pulling in some Americana craft paint and I think Sea Aqua. Yeah. And I'm going to grab a bristly brush. I should have wet it first a little bit and then dried it off for a better dry brush technique, but I didn't. So it's a true dry brush. And I'm going over that black, what did I say I had on there? Black gesso, right? And I start by going over it pretty lightly, but as I did, I was like, you know what? I'm going to add some other things on here. So I want this a bit darker. So I'm going to get a little bit more in the nooks and crannies there with this Sea Aqua paint, because when I go over it, I want to make sure that some of this is showing through. But really, I wanted this color because it's like a patina on something. So when I go over it with something else, it looks like there's like a blue-green patina peeping through. I don't know if y'all can hear my elderly cat screaming at me. She's sitting behind me. She has gotten super whiny in her old age, so please don't worry. She's just being ornery. I am using a metallic wax now. I don't know what brand this is, y'all. I think I picked it up at like Tuesday Morning ages ago, but it's a coppery color. You could find other waxes from Finnabair or Tim Holtz's Foundry Wax, something like that, or a Rub and Buff to also get this effect, and use your finger and go over whatever it is you've distressed and dry brush. So I'm just getting a touch of metallic on here and clean everything up and come back. So I wanted more of this fabric tape on here just so that it felt like it was in more than one spot. Does that make sense? I didn't want it to be like just sticking out in this one place. So I am going to put it down the edge of this very carefully, peeled off most of the back of it and then the rest of it, because this is two different pieces of fabric that I joined using that double tack mounting tape. And then I'm going to flip it over and fold it in. Now this I love how that fabric tape looks on the inside of that. It's just so pretty. I don't know why. It's just really pretty. And with that, I think I'm going to I'm not going to call it down. I haven't put down my resin piece. I am going to use some E6000, just put it back on the back of my resin piece and stick it down. I leave it to dry for just a little while. That E6000 works fast. And yeah, I turned my light on so you could see how this cover turned out. Everything stuck, and look how pretty that is. I love the grunginess of this. It's so yummy. So from there, I am going to work on a journal page, and I am starting with some of the Durabright Opaque Black and you can see I pulled out some different paper scraps. I'm going to use some of the graphics has this stuff called Artist Tech, and it is super fun. So you peel up this page like this, and there are these tiny little adhesive dots. So you slip in whatever it is you want to make sticky backed, burnish it down, and then peel it up. Now, y'all, I think this piece of paper actually sticks a little more than I really wanted it to, because that stuff is good and sticky. I left some of my dictionary paper on there. So definitely be careful with this, especially with delicate papers, but it works great on so many surfaces like this Duralar. So I've stuck down that I'm going to do, I think, another piece of, again, some more dictionary paper to get it down. I was thinking about that. I've been using that tissue tape that I got from a friend in just about everything. That tissue in just about everything. I love that floral tissue. And so I used one little piece of it, and so now I've got scraps of it everywhere. So I keep trying to stick it in things. So here's that other piece of dictionary. And again, I'm just stick it on the Artist Tack, burnish it down. This time I did leave a little bit of it hanging out so I could peel it up a little bit easier. And that worked a lot better. And then I will stick it down on my black Duralar once I figure out how I want it. And see, once I had it down, I was like, okay, this is where it's going. And I folded it under a little bit. Then I'm going to bring in some of the washi tape I made. Now this one is my scrappy one, which I used stuff out of my scrap box to make this one. I'll bring in another one here in just a little while, because I did make 3 different rolls of tape using, I think, a piece and a half of the double tack mounting tape. Now, one of my favorite things on this, y'all, is I put some sewing pattern paper on that double tack mounting tape, and it was super cool. Oh, that's the other roll, I think. No, it's not. That's my scrappy roll. No. So I'm making lines here. Of course, I could have taken, before I peeled the bag off, cut some different shapes or whatever, but I really just wanted the lines so those scrappy pieces could be on there. And I could have even like collaged the whole front of this with that, and it would have felt like one of my collages because it was just, you know, scrappy. Now, I do have issues with pulling tape up. I think the other video I've got going up today, I mentioned that as well, that I have the hardest time peeling up the backs of things. So I've got those 3 pieces stuck down, and then I'm going to grab those other 2. Yeah, some of my tape I didn't get stuck down, so I used my Oohoo to stick it down because it's where the paper overlapped the paper and wasn't stuck onto the double tack. So I'm going to use that piece of artist tack again to do these other 2 pieces of collage. These are sturdier pieces of fabric, of paper. Y'all, you just see me shaking my head here at myself. I'm trying to, do I use it? Oh, I do use this one because I'm going to, put it right there. I really liked that because it brought your eye to those 3 lines, and this is going to go over all 3 of those lines of that homemade washi tape. So I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to start bringing in some other mediums. The first thing I've got is some more Americana paint. This is in my favorite color, which is sea glass. And I'm just doing some basic mark making with the sea glass paint, getting some splotches down and a bit of that yummy color that I love so much. And it went on the Durlar, on the paper, all the things I have stuck down so beautifully. And I really wasn't as concerned about the bottom of the page of this because I am going to cover it up somewhat. So from there, I've got, that is some Amsterdam acrylic ink, and I think it's like neutral gray or something like that. And I am just going around. If y'all know my mark making, I love to take something else and go around the splotchy marks I make. And in this case, I'm using acrylic ink to do that. So I went around just a few of those, and then I have got some gold paint you see there in my hand. I'm thinking, and I was like, no, I need something else. And I pull in, y'all, do you see how bright that is? That is, it's called Patio. Oh, that was so close. It's called Patio paint, and it is super bright. So I didn't want to put a whole lot of it on this page. I just wanted to bring this pop of pink in. I really thought it would work beautifully, especially on this black Durlar. So I'm using an eraser on a pencil to make some dots, just series of 3 dots in different areas on this page. Once that's on there, here's that gold, and I'm putting just a tiny bit in my palette with some water, and I'll grab my fan brush, and guess what happens next? Guess. I'm going to make splatter all over this page. Now, I'll tell you, I did start to dry this, as the Durlars are pretty heat resistant, heat tolerant, but I went ahead and just walked away and let this dry naturally. And then I grabbed my piece of matte Durlar that's in there. You get 2 of those, 2 blacks, 2 of all the Durlar, pretty much all the mediums that come in the mixed media art journal. And I'm going to make a pocket. So I cut down that matte Durlar, and I cut the top piece into a rectangle that I knew I was going to make into a tag. So I used an already made tag to kind of just help me figure out what, the angles of the corners. Just did that. And yeah. And now I'm going to alter these 2 pieces. I think I am. Oh, first I'm going to punch my hole because, it's not really a tag. I guess it is a tag without a hole, but it's not as useful, I suppose. So first thing I'm going to focus on is the pocket, and I've pulled in some other. These are the exception when it comes to my alphabet stamps. This is, I think, a Stampin' Up set that I found at the thrift store, and I like that it has the mix of things. So I laid out the word that I wanted. I'm counting to find my middle letter, and I'm using my stays on once again to spell out a word, and this time I'm spelling out explore. And I'm just kind of centering where that is. And I know it's really hard to see that matte Duralar as I'm doing this, but trust me, it's there. I'm stamping on it. I will admit this stamp set is not my favorite. I don't like that once I get this word down, the E and the X are so much smaller than the other letters on this. Like, see how tiny that X is next to that P? Well, the E isn't much better. So it's a little deceptive looking, but it's fun. It's on there. It's not the biggest deal. So, I then, because I knew this matte Duralar could take some watercolor, I've got some color. These are super, super cheap. Like from Five Below color shift watercolors, and I'm just putting a couple colors down, like a gold and a blue green that I thought would go well with the page. So just getting those on there to have just some color on there. I didn't want to block up the whole thing because I do want, when we have the tag in there, I want some of it to show through. So yep, like that. So I'm making sure that's on there. So I did clean that stuff up, and then I grabbed some of my woody pencils and this like blue-green one and went around my word to kind of bring it forward a little bit. Like I said, those tiny E's made it look weird. And then I used a brown also. And I am going to dry this one. The matte Duralar, like I said, is heat resistant. Now, y'all, this is probably my absolute favorite thing. I grabbed my tag and some FW acrylic paint in Payne's Gray, just a couple little drops, and then I spritzed some water. From there, I'm going to grab that palette that still has that gold acrylic paint in it. Wait, I think that's what it is. Hold on. Let's see. Is that what I grab? I'm thinking, I'm looking, and where is it? There it is. Yep, that gold acrylic paint is there, and I splatter that into that ink and on the tag. And I think, yeah, I'm going to dry this. I do blot it off here just to get, because even once I dried it, there was still a little, I couldn't get quite all of it. And y'all, I love that. There is something just magical about it. So, there's still a bit of wet watercolor, yep, on the pocket, so I am going to blot it off on something else. But look how pretty that is too. Oh, I was having the best time playing with these. So here's my third roll of washi, and this was made using some copy paper and like watercolors and acrylic paints and all that. Super fun to make, but I am going to use it to help me make my pocket. The first thing I'm going to do is put it on the top of my pocket, just to like, I don't know, to help define where the top of the pocket is. It's just kind of an eye thing for me. I wanted it along that top edge. So it took me a minute to get like my little hands to hold the tape down and get everything where I want it to be. You can see this is just me being awkward. So when I finally get that top edge on there, and I'll trim my tape down and fold the tape over. So I think that was part of my problem. I was trying to get a good even lay of that so that it wasn't too wonky. It is a little wonky because, well, it's handmade. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit wonky. So I am going to fold that down, but then trim off that little bit of excess there. Then I'm going to put it over the top of my page, make sure everything lines up really nicely. And then I'm going to do kind of the same thing, but to stick those two pages together on that right side and the bottom. And this works beautifully because that that double tack mounting tape really does a great job of sticking to the Duralar. So I'm going to put it on my pocket first, and then again reposition my pocket, make sure everything lines up perfectly. I'm using the holes where the journal attaches, where the spine of the journal is. And then now that that's down, I can do the bottom edge a little bit easier now that everything is kind of stuck on there. So if you're going to do something like this, definitely do it what's the easiest way it is for you to do it. And for some reason, this was what worked for me. So I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and trim that first, then peel up the back. Oh, I've already peeled up the back. I missed that. And fold it over, and now I have this great pocket. You can see that left edge is still kind of flapping around. Once it goes into the binding of the way those rings on the mixed media journal, it's going to work great. So I want to alter that tag, but only slightly. So I've got this die cut butterfly that matches that pink, that bright pink we put on the page. And I am going to grab just a little stapler, I think, yep, and staple that right there so it kind of hangs off the edge. Now I went to my my typewriter, and typed up the word "and set yourself free." Now, y'all, I'm going to see Paul Simon this week, and I think I had 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover running through my head, and I think that's where this line came from. Yeah. So anyway, I typed that up, but I thought explore and set yourself free was kind of a nice sentiment. The butterfly kind of flying out of the pocket felt just right. I'm using my Uhu glue stick to stick the sentiment onto the washi that matches what's on the pocket. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing. Uhu down to tape, and I was trying to get it just where I wanted it. This gave me opportunity to like pick the area, but this made a great backer for my sentiment here, so that it's, and it's already on this tape that sticks well to the Duralar. So yeah, fabulous. So I am going to trim all of this down just a little bit so it feels a little more even and less wonky, and then peel up my homemade washi and stick it onto my tag. So that's one part, because I think that says "and set yourself," and then this other one just says, I think it says "free" in all caps, I think is what I did. Like I said, I think I had Paul Simon in my head. I'm so excited about this concert. All right, from there's not much else to do but to add some kind of ribbon or something at the top, because we did add that hole. So I'm pulling in some fabric. In fact, it's the same fabric I used to make the fabric tape. I am going to add some Stays On and a Tim Holtz stamp. It's a ledger script stamp onto this fabric, just so that I have a little bit of texture on this coffee dyed fabric. So got that little bit of texture. I'm going to snip it and tear it down just a little bit, and then fold it in half and make a lark's head knot at the top of my tag. So in that hole we've got there. So I'm making it as small as I can, pulling it through, and then putting the ends through that loop. And this took me a little bit of wiggling to get that knot right where I wanted it to be. Because, it's kind of a stiff fabric and I didn't want to pull it too hard. I could have put an eyelet in there, but I just wasn't feeling weighing this down with anything else. So once I get that how I want, I am going to trim that. And once that's done, this fun set of, like I said, it's basically 3 projects: a cover, a page, a pocket with a tag. So almost 4. I had a lot of fun playing with these materials. If you want to see how I made that washi tape, head over to the Graphics Arts channel, and my video will be over there. And like I said, I have another video here on my channel today in which I make a tag also. So yeah, I've been a little tag crazy. Let me know if y'all have any questions about any of this, if this was too much for one video, what you think. Of course, if you like it, give me a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye. you.